So let's go ahead and look at the agenda for the product talk now. So a quick summary of the innovations in our current product lines. It's always Gupta products here. The coming innovations and the coming releases. So basically a roadmap. And then I'm going to talk a bit about the Gupta SQLBase Data Protection Audit, a feature that has been introduced with SQLBase 12.4 last year, I think in fall last year. So here are the values of our current product lines. So we have been busy for SQLBase, and we have delivered with 12.0, if you recall, the long-awaited multi-threading performance that really boosts the performance of anything you do with SQLBase. So if you aren't on any SQLBase 12.x release, that's highly recommended for you to do that. We have incrementally added features like automatic database upgrades, enhanced administration tools, compliance, and more. So I won't go through all the details here, but just to show you that there's a steady flow of releases that has been coming and also will be coming in the future. Here is the Gupta SQLBase lifecycle slide. So if you are on maintenance with OpenText for Gupta SQLBase, then you have access to my support, and this is basically the data that you see on my support. You see all the life cycles for every product version, and you see that every product version in OpenText has a 5-year life cycle. So basically, SQLBase 12.0 has gone out of engineering support in August 2020, and the active versions are now 12.1, which will go out of support actually in summer this year. And so you see 12.3 is until August 2026. But the main thing here to remember is, that 5-year life cycle. For Gupta TD Mobile, this is what we had provided the past years. TD Mobile 2.1 with the editable table and many new UX controls. In TD Mobile 2.2, we added the source control features to support Subversion and Git into the product. In TD Mobile 2.3, we enhanced programming and the user experience. In TD Mobile 2.4, further programming enhancements and reporting enhancements. And just a quick update on the life cycle here again. So the latest version, TD Mobile 2.4, has a life cycle until April 2025. So, looking at my support, you can figure out pretty much how the life cycles are, but you also see the roadmaps when you are on maintenance. For Gupta Team Developer, the past few releases, 7.1, multi-threading source control, also like Subversion and Git support in Team Developer. Low-code REST was in 7.2, so you can basically call REST services with just providing the JSON response there. So, and we will analyze that response so that we will create a functional class or a data class basically that contains exactly the data structure that JSON service returns. In Team Developer 7.3, we then concentrated on responsive layout and code profiling. So we started supporting, very large displays. We started supporting very large displays, and that route has been going on for several releases. So there was more coming for large displays in Team Developer 7.4, and Helmut will today talk about that in detail because there are quite a number of pretty good features to support the screen area or the screen real estate that you gain when you use very large monitors. So one thing is you can increase the amount of data that you display, for example. That's kind of the basic responsive layout features that we have. The second option is you can increase the size of the objects if you have a larger screen. If you have problems reading the details, then you can maybe increase the size to 120%, 150%, or whatever. or do a combination of both, like increase the font and do the increased amount of data information that you want to display. But that's something that Helmut will talk about in detail today. So a quick look at the lifecycle. Team Developer 7.4 will go, will go out of support in July 2026. And just again, it makes a lot of sense to buy OpenText maintenance because you get access to all the software downloads on my support. So every full new product or every feature release, plus every service pack you can download. You can request the keys for those versions. And you also get full access to customer support. So if you have questions or you find issues, you can report them directly to customer support. So let's look at the future that we have planned for SQLBase, Team Developer, and TD Mobile. For SQLBase, we plan to release at the end of this year Gupta SQLBase 12.4 with enhanced usability for database administrators, enhancements for software developers, and increased flexibility for the SQLBase EDP Maker tool. So this is on the list for this year. And for next year, we will add database developer features, enhancements for database administrators, and customer requested features. So we are going to release a new version basically every year. And the further out it is in the future, the less details I can, of course, provide here, because we always listen to you and build in the feature requests that you provide. So let's look at Gupta TD Mobile. TD Mobile 2.5 will come late this year with new APIs for Excel export, for example, several user interface enhancements with improved grid control, improved list view control, enhancements for the date and chart control, and so forth. And also we are planning for a release in next year, TD Mobile 2.6, with also with new APIs, user experience enhancements, reporting enhancements, and data class enhancements. The data class in TD Mobile makes developing web and mobile applications, really easy, because you just define the objects, if you like, based on your data structure that you have in your databases, or based on the REST services or web services that you are consuming. So Team Developer 7.5 towards the end of this year, likely November. You will get IDE enhancements like IDE usability improvements, build enhancements, source control enhancements. The user interface features will give you enhanced grid control, a new browser control, which is quite important because the old one, I think, is based on the Microsoft Internet Explorer, which is really not working well anymore, or not working totally in some cases. New APIs for higher application usability and developer improvements, and database connectivity enhancements. Next year, we plan for 7.6, again, programming enhancements, user interface enhancements, reporting enhancements, and customer requested features. And we are building that roadmap content as we go along and receive the requests from our user base. Okay, that was kind of the current situation and an outlook into the future of the Gupta products. Now let's have a look at the Gupta SQLBase Data Protection Audit feature that has been introduced with Gupta SQLBase 12.3. So GDPR and other regulations are there, and you might be required to provide this detail of information to auditors when you use certain types of, when you store certain types of data. Who has altered what value at what time? Who has inserted what data at what time? Who has deleted what data at what time? And all this is for regulatory purposes, but it is also very useful actually for database application debugging, because you can, in that log, you can see, when was a value changed, and such you can do kind of SQL debugging. Is the SQL that I'm using in my application actually doing what I think it should be doing? You can verify security breaches and other things. So this SQLBase data protection audits in a few simple steps can be enabled. First, you need to create a DPA database and you need to use SQL Talk to create that database. This one database for the data protection audit can then contain the data protection audit for multiple other databases that are in use. So basically, we provide a script which is called dpaudit.sql, which is in the SQLBase installation directory. If you load and run that into a new database, then you have created the data protection database. Then going to the second step, you need to configure the data protection audit in sql.ini in the server section of the sql.ini file. And you see it there, data protection audit is the statement, and then equals audit database, and then equals the database name that you gave, DP audit in this case. That's what I will be using today. Databases that are under the database protection audit are then listed after semicolon, database equals island, and then you have a colon and a audit level. So you can have several audit levels that allow you to highly granularly define what data should be audited. Because if you audit everything like I do here on level 4, all update operations with the before and after values, the insert with the values, and the delete operations will be recorded, and that can, of course, create quite a load and space requirements for your running databases. So you can configure that at any level that you like here, and you see that levels here. And then if you look into the DPA database, then you will find there are 3 tables: DPA operation, DPA column, and DPA column values. And you can use these tables to query what has been going on. So the DPA operation contains insert, update, delete, commit, and rollback transactions, or transaction steps, I should really say. DPA column contains 1 row for every modified column with an insert, update, and delete statement. And DPA column values contains the before and after data images for supported column times. And all the details can be found in the SQLBase Database Administrator's Guide at page 155 plus. Now you can write your own SQL, and I'm pretty sure most of you can do that quite easily to find out what's going on in that DPA database, or who has done what on the data. But that can be quite complicated if you just type SQL. So I thought I'll write a little tool, and actually I will show you now a Team Developer application that accesses the data protection audit database, lets you analyze the data that has been found, and also lets you do maintenance on the data. So let me start screen sharing here. And now you might need to arrange your windows in the browser window of the event, because the screen sharing might be in a different window than the slides. So I do have a Team Developer application. I will just run this application now. And this application basically requires me to log into the data protection audit database, DP audit in my case. I will log in, and then I will get a list of the database that are participating in DPA. So that's basically, it's querying the DP audit database to see for what database we do have data in the database. So if you click on one database, then you see all the data changes that have been going on. You can scroll through that. You can use the responsive layout here to show more information. That's kind of the responsive layout feature. If you go on to that, then you have a number of high-level statistics for this database. So total tracked operations 14, total commit transactions 4, total delete statements, and so on, and then per user data. And also you see that every transaction has a number here. So you see by that number, you see what things have happened inside one transaction. Let me just switch to that other database here. So here's the transaction ID, and you see that there was just for 113809, there was just an update and a commit. And you see that the company table was updated, the before value was this, and the after value was this. And if you click into it, I've made these buttons here, these columns. If you click on this, then you need to provide the password for that database. And then you see that data. You should have seen it. OK. Well, you have the source code of this. You can download that from your On24 session in the resources section and can play with that. So, and then I've added another thing is, so basically this is showing you all the transactions, the transaction type and everything, and what has been going on in your database. I find that, as I mentioned before, I find that also useful for doing, debugging. When I would have had that during my application development times, then that would be very, very helpful to see, if my update statement that I did program in my Team Developer application did really update that value or not. And then I did have added a feature for purging data. So if you want to remove data that has been in the database for like, I don't know how many time, what periods you're looking for to remove, maybe 10 years. So I've provided a few samples here, older than 5 years, older than 10 years, before a provided year, before a calendar date. And before the beginning of 2021, if I just click that here, do you really want to purge data before? Oops, I'm sorry. This was working. Well, you have the source code and you can look at this. So 0 rows have been deleted. Now let me go again into this and say before calendar date, and we use today's date. Then do you want to really purge all data before today? Specified table name, that does not exist. That's not good. OK, so the presenting effect kicks in fully on me now. Sorry about that, but it used to work yesterday. So, but you have the source code for this, and I've done this many times actually. And only in the source code I do have. You see that here, delete from DPA operation, and I do have a rollback in here. So if you change that source code, then you need to put a commit here so you have the deleted values. So sorry about that little problem. We'll investigate that, but you can also investigate that with the source code you have. Let's get back to the presentation. There's one question regarding our approach regarding WSDL within Team Developer. So that's basically web services. We do have a web services wizard for Team Developer Win32, Win64, and also for teamdeveloper.net, where you can provide the WSDL URL, and then this will generate that web service interface class for you that you can use. So basically, that wizard creates an APL for you that you can then use to consume web services.